So did you know that the research has been done, the numbers are now in, and the debate is officially settled that artists are far better off being independent in DIY than they are to be signed? I mean, imagine keeping close to 100% of your profits. You can 3x your fan conversions with a small little tweak that you don't need a label for, and you have a career where you call the shots, right? So in this video, I'm gonna be breaking down the cold hard stats, facts, and truths, and yes, I brought receipts, about why potentially making the decision to be an entrepreneurial musician is the decision you've been looking for to help grow your music business. So the first thing we need to jump into are the stats of being a DIY musician, okay? And the first stat I want to look at is something that was put out by the RIAA report in 2023, and it was that independent musicians keep basically 100% of the revenue that they earn, where label signed artists only keep 12 to 15%. You probably saw this TikTok or reel go around the internet where Snoop Dogg was saying, I got 1 billion streams and I only made like $40,000. Is that because that's what you would make if you got 1 billion streams? No. Snoop Dogg is a signed artist. He is under labels, right? And he has managers and he has lawyers. So he only collects 10 to 15% of the overall revenue that he generates from his music. So you have to look at that and you have to think about, okay, wait a second. So if I got 1 billion streams as an independent, I'd be making like $4 million, $3,300,000 technically, right? So I'd be making 3.3 mil if I was independent, but if I'm signed, I'm Snoop Dogg, I make $40,000. You have to see the difference there, and people are like, oh, well, you know, I need to be on this label, because they see, I call this the iceberg effect, right? So they see the tip of the iceberg. They see the Snoop Doggs and the Taylor Swifts and all the label signed artists, and they're like, oh, that's what I got to do to get successful, is I have to be signed, right? But they don't see underneath the water. They don't see the thousands of artists you've never heard of and will never hear of because they got signed, they didn't perform like they were, you know, they thought they would, and the label just shelved them, right? The label just put them on the shelf and said, we're not going to put the album out, or we put the album out, but we're not going to promote it. We're not going to do a music video. We're not going to do a single, yada, 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 and effectively have killed the careers of thousands of musicians, because when you got signed with the label, your palm was effectively in their hands. And if they decided, yeah, you're not going to blow up, that was just how it was, okay? So we look at the tip of the iceberg and we go, wow, to be successful, I probably have to get signed because they're all signed. It's like, no. You don't see below the water of all the people whose careers have been destroyed by being signed, and all the debt that they're in and the money that they owe and have to go bankrupt on it. It's just a bad idea, right? So the RIAA put out this report that basically showed that label signed artists are not making hardly any of the money that they actually generate, right? Wouldn't you like to keep the money that you earn? I know I would, right? So the second stat that we need to look at was put out by the Music Industry Research Association in 2022, which showed that independent artists, DIY musicians, they have a 72% career satisfaction reporting, okay? So think about that. That means it doesn't matter how successful you ultimately end up being at the end of your life, right? That 72% of independent musicians were like, this was the right choice. I had a great time doing it. I've made friends. I've had memories. It was all worth it, right? And I can tell you, some of the stuff that I've done, in just 10, 15 years, I've met so many people, had so many great friendships, that if we peaked like 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, I would have been happy. I've been like, wow, we've done so much now. It's like more than I could say most of the people I know have done. So like I can live happy with this, right? And we were independent at the time. So it's one of those things where you have to think about it like getting signed can be at the detriment of your overall well-being as a person, right? Because it's not just going to hurt your bank account. It's going to hurt your brain account, right? You're going to be sitting there mentally exhausted all the time. And I did this video that breaks down sort of the manipulative tactics that the industry will pull. I think it's called The Music Industry Is Not What It Seems on the thumbnail. You can check that out after you watch this video, where I break down exactly how labels will manipulate an artist to keep them kind of in a perpetual distracted fog, right? So that they can just take money out of their pockets. So it's not just hurting your pockets, it's hurting your well-being as well. All right, and then let's go to the next stat. I think it's really important too. Despite what the labels had done to us in the past, not as far along ago as 2023, musicians have reached 43.1% percent market share when it comes to overall streams. So I want you to think about that. Most people think, oh, the only people that are getting streams are the big labels, right? Well, yeah, it's a Pareto distribution. There's probably a tiny portion of artists that are getting a majority of the streams, broadly speaking. But independent artists are almost half, almost like we're little under 7% of half of all streams that are happening on Spotify. So that should make you feel a little bit confident that it's a little under 50-50 right now, which you would think with the resources and everything that those artists, the signed labels are putting towards these artists, that it would be like, 90% to 10%. No, it's basically 50-50. And that was 2 years ago. Imagine how that's grown over time, right? And so soon artists will be 50% of all streaming consumed on DSPs, digital streaming platforms, right? So that was put out by the MIDIA research team in 2023, right? And so that way they were able to figure out that artists are growing. Independent artists are growing. And as far as how much and when they say market share, that's kind of like thinking about it like how many ears are available to listen to your music, right? So there's only a certain amount of people that are listening to music. That's the market, right? Think about how many people want to have a streaming platform on their phone like Spotify or Apple Music. Spotify has got probably 90% of the market share because most people have Spotify. But then you've got the rest of the, maybe it's 80-20. The rest of the 20% or 10% is Apple Music, Amazon Music, Deezer, Tidal, and all these other ones, right? So they have a big market share. Well, for independent artists, we've got almost 50% of that. So that should make you feel a little confident that it's not that people don't want to consume stuff from people who aren't signed. So if you have the belief that, well, I'm not signed, no one will take me seriously, no one wants to listen to me because I'm not signed, that's a false belief. People are, at least half the population of people listening to music are willing to listen to independent artists. They don't care if you're signed or not. They just care if the song is good. You understand, right? If you can connect with them and create a good song, that's what they care about. Now, this next stat is probably my favorite stat. There's other stats that are really, really cool that I'm going to be talking about, but this is kind of one of my favorite ones. Low key, okay? And it was done by the Journal of Arts Entrepreneurship in 2021, okay? And it showed that entrepreneurial musicians who are willing to adapt direct marketing, direct sales, these type of approaches were, are you ready? 60% more likely to succeed. So I want you to think about something for a moment. If you've been going through this business from sort of an anti-entrepreneurial mindset, if you want to increase your likelihood of succeeding in this business, become more entrepreneurial. Learn how to be an entrepreneur as a musician. Learn the foundations of business and marketing and sales. I guarantee you, as someone who's done that in my own life, the revenue that you get, the ROI that you get on your education is borderline infinite, depending just how far you want to push it. So if you can commit to learning how to become an entrepreneur, you increase your likelihood to succeed, according to this research, by 60%. That's amazing, because that tells me that so many artists are out there trying to reinvent the wheel and do things from a non-entrepreneurial perspective, which, here's the thing. People, I'm going to make a statement here that's going to upset a lot of people, and I'm not trying to be polarizing, but I want to be honest with you guys. That's what I desire to do on this channel, is be straight up and honest with you guys. I told you the truth, we're going to be a little hard. But there's a lot of musicians out there that think that they're not capitalists. Did he say the word? Did he say the C word? Different C. Did he say that? He said it. He said the word capitalists. And here's all I'm getting at. You have something of value. You have your art. You're saying, hey, I would like to get paid for my art. Imagine you're a street artist, right? And you walk up and someone's like, hey, can you've seen those videos, hey, will you paint my laptop? Make it cool? And they'll sit there and they'll do the graffiti and spray stuff and make it a planet or whatever, They've kind of got their stock stuff that they go through. Well, do they just hand the laptop back and go like, have a great day? No, they want about like 20 quid, 20 euro, whatever, that they want that money for their art that they put in because they provided them something of value, right? So you can't be somebody who sells something of value in exchange, right? So that's what money and transactions are. It's exchanging of value. Back in the day, it used to be like, I have 5 cows and you've got 5 pigs. Like, I need the pigs and you need the cows. Let's make a trade here, right? We're trading things of value. So he wanted a service done, and in exchange, the artist wanted some money. Value was exchanged. Boom. Congratulations. You're a capitalist. I know there's been a lot of indoctrination around that word and a lot of stigma tied to it and all these kind of different things. But when you get down to brass tacks, that's the truth. And so artists who embrace entrepreneurship, meaning I'm going to demonstrate that I have value and I'm going to sell what I have of value to other people who want that, right? Because there's a market of people, not just of people who want to listen to music. There is a market of people who want to buy things from musicians. Right? And so like I created a VIP experience for one of our local gigs. It was the first time we did a VIP experience for our fans. And I was arguing with my band. They were like, should we do that? Is it greedy to want to have them pay $70, $80 more for this VIP thing? Who are we? We're not some big famous band. All the preconceived notions about how it's bad to charge people money, right? And then I said, guys, fine, let's do it for $60, $65, something real, like on the VIP spectrum, this is dirt cheap. And they're like, fine, we can do that. That's acceptable. So I convinced everyone, okay, we can do this. So we did the VIP. We had 7 people our first time that got them instantaneously as soon as they were out. So is it that before we were selling that people didn't want to buy more from us? Or was it that we didn't provide something that was high enough value that they were willing to exchange their money for it? Do you see the difference there? Where I'm just expecting fans to give me more and more because I'm an artist versus providing them something of value that they're willing to exchange their money for because they're like, dude, I want to do this VIP experience. I want to go to soundcheck, have a Q&A, private acoustic performance. I want all these things. I want a merch bundle or a laminate. Executive executive parking, that's a cool little bonus to offer as a VIP. It's pretty easy to implement. You just talk with the owner and say like, hey, can you get 2 or 3 parking spots like coned off specifically for our VIPs? It's generally speaking not a big deal because the parking spots are going to be filled. They're going to be filled with paying customers. It's just that they're your VIPs that are there early, right? So it's pretty easy to negotiate with a venue, and it's a really attractive offer because parking sucks sometimes with venues where you got to go down the block and you got to walk a whole corner around the thing just to get to the venue. That sucks, right? But if you can just park right in front of the venue because you're a VIP, that's worth some money. So it's like, I was going to pay $25 in parking to this, structure anyway that's a block away from the venue. Might as well just pay the band directly and get front row parking right in front of the venue. It's a very, very great little VIP bonus. So there's a little bonus piece of information for you there. But what I'm getting at is that being an entrepreneur is not a bad thing. In fact, I believe when you're being a good, ethical entrepreneur, you are doing something very good. You're giving somebody something of value. Keep in mind, imagine a concert that you've been to, that it was the greatest experience you've ever had. I know a lot of you musicians have been to concerts that changed your life. Some of you, that's why you became a musician, is you saw a concert. But think of how life-changing. Imagine yourself back in that situation. Was that worth every penny that you paid? And sometimes those concert tickets were $100. Sometimes those concert tickets were in stadiums and they were like $200, $400. Was it worth every penny for the experience that you got? I guarantee most people would say yes. So you have to think about it like the fear of like being a bad person for charging money largely is a made up self-sabotage fear, because it's not that the person across the table who's the fan doesn't want to buy from you. They totally want to buy from you. You just haven't given them anything that they can buy. And like that VIP was an example. There were people who wanted to spend $70 on us, but they didn't want to go to the merch table and spend $70 because they already bought all our merch. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't go spend $70 more at the merch table because they already bought everything. So what else can they do? I'm like, well, here's the VIP. They were like, let me get that. And so the fear of, oh, we're greedy. People call you bad names. You're a greedy capitalist. It's like, no, I offered something of value that my fans, the market, wanted to exchange money for, right? Yeah, I didn't go over there and put a gun up to them and say, buy this, They bought it because they like me and they like what I provide. And you should have that same confidence. So anyway, I'm kind of going on a tangent on this one point, but you're increasing your likelihood to succeed by 60% just by adopting a mindset and learning how to become an entrepreneur. It's incredible. Now I want to talk about what are some entrepreneurial things that we can do. Okay, so an email, right? An email list is essential. I know people sometimes are like, do people open emails? Yeah, they do. I believe there was $11 billion made through email marketing in 2023 from HubSpot, I believe was where the research came from. That's enough people are open emails to have that much money circulating in that one industry. So I think people still open emails. Some people think that just because they don't open emails, that other people don't. It's like, oh, I guarantee you, people still open emails. So look at this. Email, according to Litmus, in 2022, email has a 36-to-1 ROI, meaning for every dollar that you spend on email marketing, on average, you will make $36 back. If I put $1 in and get $2 back, I want to put in $1 million so I can get $2 million back. If I'm putting in $1 and getting 36 back, why am I not investing all of my time and priority to make sure that that system is working properly? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's an insanely valuable system just because of the ROI potential on it. And you build rapport, you build connection, and if you do it right, like with me and my clients, we talk about this in some other videos too, we go through this process of communicating with your fans in a way that doesn't feel sleazy or pushy because you're just communicating who you are as an artist and you're sucking them into your story and you're getting them kind of like, okay, yeah, I see what you're trying to do. And then we offer something, right? So in the pure like return on investment people, I know there's those people like, what's the ROI of me doing this? Email has a 36-to-1 ROI. So if you're one of those people, you probably want to pay attention. You know what I'm saying? To email. Now think about open rates. So how many people are opening the emails that you send them? The music industry, the music business, has a higher than average open rate. It's about 28% on average. Okay? So, gosh, that is so much higher than most industries. Most industries will get 10% and will be like, woo! We did it. 15% is like, dude, we're slaying it out there. Artists and musicians have such a connection with their fan base that their want to engage with you is higher than any other thing. Guys, you're not selling them solar panels. They already like you. You just have to build that likingness more when it comes to your email, right? So how do you create subject lines that are curiosity engaging? Because put it this way, the average, by the way, who did this data? MailChimp did. That's an email service provider. And if anybody has a lot of data on open rates, it's MailChimp. One of the biggest email service providers in the world, if not the biggest, right? Maybe ActiveCampaign is the biggest, I don't know. But you look at it like this. 28% is the average. I've had my clients get it to 34%. Okay? Because fans love artists and they want to hear from them. Most artists use their email list as another social media to just post out promotional things. And when you can build out connection with those emails, that's really where the money is, in my opinion. Is not using the email as another social media. Like, oh, well, the algorithm's going to limit this on Facebook. Well, I'll post it on the email so they have to see it. I wouldn't do it like that. I would do it more like, how can I communicate with them that gets them to get into my community, build that rapport with me, and so eventually when I ask them to support me, they're totally willing because they know me, they like me, and they trust me, right? Those are the three things that you build inside of your email list with the right sequences. Now, this is a HubSpot data, but it's kind of a general fact, is that you own your data. You own all the customers. Think about it like this. When you get followers, we just had this TikTok ban that lasted like 15 minutes. It was longer than that. It was less than a day though. We had this TikTok ban where people were freaking out that because TikTok was disappearing that they were going to lose all their followers that they had built up. You know why I wasn't worried, even though TikTok was like my second biggest social media platform? You know why I wasn't worried about TikTok going down? Because I have an email list. All my Prime fans and customers are on my email list. And so it doesn't really matter to me if any of the social medias go down. YouTube could go down tomorrow. I'll be okay because I've got my email list built up for my artists, for my fans, for my band, and people who work with me here. I've got the email list built up. Like, I'm not worried in the slightest. Are you worried? Well, if you're worried, it's because you don't own your customer data. You don't own your fans' contact information. Mark Zuckerberg owns it. TikTok owns it. Elon Musk owns it. Google owns it. You and I don't own it. But if we have an email list, a text SMS list, we now own that data. You guys may have heard me say that one time eBay was sold to Skype. I'm sorry, eBay bought Skype, but they only bought their customer list, and they bought it for $2 billion. That's how valuable having a list of data that you own of customers is, okay? So focus on that because it's something that's incredibly powerful. And then think about this, just by utilizing an email list, and communicating with them on a regular basis, on average, what is it called? The Spotify for Artist Insights discovered in 2023 that 3 times more conversions happen on your tickets and your products whenever you have an email list. So think about that for a second. If you're trying to sell your products and services and you need to give yourself a 3x raise, start marketing them through an email list. Because the statistics have shown through Spotify for Artists that 3 times more people will buy tickets and products from you through these email lists than if you were just pushing it on Spotify, or excuse me, not pushing it on Spotify, pushing it on Instagram, pushing it on Facebook, TikTok, wherever, right? I know a lot of musicians that do that. They'll promote their merchandise offers like on their stories and things like that. To me, I mean, you probably know from yourself, how well does that really do? You know, I'm sure there's some people who have gotten some sales every now and then, but do you get consistent sales? I would argue that most people don't. It takes a very, very large volume of people to be in your list or on following you that, excuse me, that you post a story and then a flock of people go buy your stuff. You have to be at sort of a certain level to do that, and most independent artists aren't there, but it's easy to do that, and it's sort of a lazy way to be like, oh yeah, I promoted my thing, and oh, nothing happened. Why did nothing happen? It's because you used the worst method of promoting it. You know what I'm saying? If you want to increase the conversions by 3 times, then sell in the environment that they're wanting to buy. This is such an insanely valuable thing that I can share with you guys, is that the best thing you can do to help people buy is create an environment that makes them feel like buying. Right? Or be in an environment that they want to buy in and sell it there. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Like, create an environment that makes them feel like buying. Whenever me and my band put together shows, we create an environment that makes them feel like supporting us. Right? Whenever I'm figuring out how do we present our merch table and all this kind of stuff, I'm trying to create an environment that makes them feel like buying. Not like feel like they didn't feel like buying and now they do. But it's like they have a desire to buy, and then I make my environment such that it's easy for them to just make that decision, right? Like, for example, a lot of artists will get up on stage and they're like I know why they do this, but they do this out of insecurity. They get up on stage and they go, all right, you can go over there, make sure to go over and support every band here tonight and buy some shirts and buy some tickets. That is a way that they feel like they can promote their merch table without promoting their merch table. But guess what? They don't promote their merch table. They promote theirs and all the other bands that are on the bill, right? Now, is that such a bad thing to tell people to go support all the other bands? No, that's not a bad thing. But if your design of this is to create an environment that makes them feel like buying your stuff, you have to give them direct call to actions to go to your merch table. We'll say things like, I'm going to be over, this is our singer, I'm going to be over right there, points to the merch table, I'm going to be over right there right after our set. You can come over there and say hi, we can take a picture, we can get a hug, we can chat. I'll see you guys over there, and we got some special stuff you can check out as well. Like, we're building the desire of why would I want to go to the merch table? I want to meet the band, I want to meet the singer, I want to talk to the singer, I want to take a picture with the singer. Maybe he'll sign my hat, maybe he'll sign my shirt. We're creating desire, pointing exactly where they need to go and say, I'll see you over there, like right now. That's like basically like the song ends. Thank you, good night, I'll see you over there. Points again, right at it. Direct call to action. Not, yeah, I'll see you guys later, make sure to go to everyone's merch table, be a good person and support. What, are you going to guilt trip everyone into buying from you? That doesn't make people feel like buying. What is this, the Helping Hands commercial? Or is it, in the arms of the angel? No, we're not guilt tripping our audience into come. You know, if you want to be a good fan and support all the bands and be a good live music fan, you should go check out the merches. They're going to be like, bite me. Depending on the audience too. If it's like a rock and metal artist, they may like tell you to go F yourself. You know, be very careful with that. But if you create the feeling of desire that makes them feel like buying, they'll actually have a higher likelihood to go over and want to buy something for you, right? So email is an environment. Okay, long story short, email is an environment that people buy through. Like I said, 11 billion people in 2023, according to HubSpot, bought something through an email list. So you have to look at this like, okay, there is a way to position myself in this environment of email that makes them feel like buying, right? And that's what the 3x conversions on ticket sales and products is from, is that if you do the email game right, you protect that environment and treat it with how it's supposed to be treated, you can actually increase your sales. But if you go in there and just immediately start asking, there's a reason that people like Alex Hormozy say give, ask. Or Gary Vee, even the hardcore, hey everybody, we're gonna do NFTs and all this crazy stuff. Like even him, he's like jab, 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 right hook, which is the equivalent of give, ask. So everyone understands that it's about creating value inside the email list and creating an environment that when you actually make the ask, makes them feel like supporting you. Okay, let's move on to sales. Like I've been talking kind of about it directly, but let's actually talk about some stats around sales. So on average, based on the basic strategies that most artists are doing, merchandise alone is 30% of their income. So I want you to think about something. That's from Billboard, by the way. So we have to put that data into context. We have to put that data into context. So Billboard is analyzing signed artists and independent artists, but mostly probably signed artists, right? So you're thinking like, oh, 30% sounds kind of small. I would argue, and again, I don't necessarily have a research paper to back this up. This is more anecdotal personal experience. But from what I've observed touring the country playing over 800 gigs, is that by and large, merchandise is more like 50 to 60% of an independent artist revenue, and 30% or less is royalties, all these other door splits and all these other kind of things, right? They all kind of filter into that 30% or that 40%. But 60%, maybe 50% of independent artists' income, I would argue, comes from merchandise. But there's some language here that we need to understand too. Merchandise is a specific term. Merchandise basically means one-off sales, whether they're bundles or not. And when I say bundle, it's like, you get a hat, you get a t-shirt, and some shorts. It's a bundle. That's still technically one sale, right? It's a merchandise sale. Though, to me, I like to view things as offers. Offers are not so clear-cut and dry like a product is. So merchandise is a product. I want to sell a hat. I want to sell a t-shirt. I want to sell some pants. Oh, I can bundle them together and sell them all as one thing. But it's one thing if you said, I'm going to sell a t-shirt, a hat, and I'm going to have a music video, I'm going to have a commentary about the song, and I'm going to have a ticket to a virtual live concert that I'm going to be putting on in a couple weeks. That is an offer, okay? That is different than a product or service because, for example, if you want to sell a t-shirt, people are going to compare the value of your t-shirt with the value of every other t-shirt they've bought. They're going to say, I bought t-shirts over here and they're $30. I bought t-shirts over here and they're $35. And so there's kind of a range that people are willing to pay for a t-shirt. Unless you're like in an arena and an arena band, no one's going to pay $50 for a t-shirt or $70 for a t-shirt. Unless, I guess, you're Tool, right? That's funny. There's irony in that. There's a double entendre. The band is Tool, and they're kind of being tools by charging $70. No, that's actually, honestly, those high prices are most likely due to the merchandise splits that those venues put on bands. And so, of course, to keep their margins so that they can afford their staff and afford their production, they increase the price and basically pass that on to the consumer. I don't blame them for doing that because they still want to be profitable enough that they can pay their crew and keep playing live, right? So I understand there's economics at it. So if you really get mad at those t-shirt sale prices, blame the venue. I guarantee you that most bands don't want to overcharge, right? Even bands with controversial lead singers like Ronnie Radke, pulled their merch out because they refused to charge the fans more to pay for the merch split that they would inevitably have to pay. There's ways of going about it, right? But you get the idea. Anyway, offers are a little bit different. Offers don't have this sort of one-to-one value assessment, where if I say, I'm getting a t-shirt, I have to compare that to all the other t-shirts to figure out if that's a fair value. But if I have a music video, I have the commentary, I have a ticket to a live show, now the value is sort of a little bit more ambiguous. Now, again, you have to be respectful and ethical within this. Just because there's a vagueness in it doesn't mean all of a sudden you go, and therefore for this t-shirt, music video, commentary, and ticket, it's $1,000. That doesn't really make sense, right? But if you said, wait a minute, it's a ticket, it's a t-shirt, I get these videos, what would the value of that be? So let's say it's $35 for the t-shirt. Let's say the ticket is worth like $15. So let's call it $50 in total, and then add maybe like $10 for the videos or $5 for the videos. You could charge $50 for that offer. And people would be like, yeah, that's pretty reasonable. I mean, it's over $60 in value, but you're only charging $45, you're only charging $49, $47, these kind of prices. People would be like, oh, okay, I'm getting a great deal on this. As opposed to if you want basically the value to be here and the price to be here, right? It's kind of like a leverage or a lever. If the value is high enough, it'll roll down and price becomes no objection, right? But if price is too high, they're not going to want to buy, right? But when the value is high, they'll feel like buying. So that's the first little piece of data. We kind of dove into merchandise and offers. So I would argue that merch bare minimum will be 30% of your income, but it can become 50% or more of your income if you're regularly putting out offers and you're selling merchandise as an independent artist. I just feel like compared to the streaming royalties that make that 30% number small for Billboard artists, would actually be, if you corrected for the fact that most independent artists aren't making that much from their streaming, it would go to like 60 to 70%, maybe even more. Okay, the next piece of data that we have is from Pareto Principle in the music business. It was in 2022. And basically they showed that high ticket offers from artists, get this is wild, they were 10% of the purchases, right? So of all the purchases that fans are making on artists, 10% of it was on high ticket expensive stuff that cost a few $100s or $1,000 or more, right? But you may think, Dax, that's barely anybody. 10% of a market is buying high ticket. Well, one way to look at it is that's a lot of people. But also, 60% of the total revenue of the music business comes from those 10% of high ticket sales. I will say that again because I need y'all to understand that and how crazy that is. Because the high ticket offers are higher in value, you need less sales to make more money. I know, you've never heard that before. You need to make less sales and you'll make more money. Well, obviously more sales will always equal more money. But in high ticket offers, you don't have to sell at the same level that you sell low ticket offers. So for example, a t-shirt is considered a low ticket offer, right? It's $30, $40. That's considered low ticket. High ticket is considered maybe $1,000 or more, $500 or more. So think about it. How many $10 items do you need to sell to get to 1,000 versus I have $1,000 goal and $1,000 product? Well, you need to make one sale, right? So like the idea here is that in the music industry, 10% of the sales equals 60% of the revenue. What are those 10% of sales? Oh, high ticket experiences. And if you want to think about like, well, why should I offer an experience, Dax? Or experiences, is it just to have a high ticket offer? No, because there's another piece of data from Eventbrite, they're the ticket distributor, and they have a customer, it's called like the customer something report, CTR, customer transaction report, I believe. Yeah, anyway, Eventbrite put out this study that basically showed that fans who buy experiences, VIPs, right, those higher ticket offers, are 2 times more likely to support an artist for the long term, right? Basically become, if not a lifelong fan, a decades-long fan, right? And so they have a lot of ticket sale data to verify these kind of things. And so think about this for a second. If I start selling experiences and VIP tickets, I have the opportunity to increase the lifetime value of my fan because they're going to be hanging around longer because they'll actually be willing to support me longer through my career, which means throughout the duration of that, they'll be buying shirts at venues, they'll be buying offers online, they'll be buying the new record. There's all these things that they can be buying over the course of their support, whereas opposed to you have people who don't really have those in close experiences with you. You're kind of just a band they listen to on Spotify every now and then, and they'll go to your show, but as soon as you're done, they leave. They don't really want to hang out and meet you. It's just kind of a casual thing. those fans are not really going to be the reason that you have any kind of stable income as an independent musician. But the fans who go to experiences and buy high ticket offers, they're the ones that are going to help you generate a majority of your revenue. So you can think about it like this, where hopefully we can have sort of a rough mirror to the market where 10% of our sales may result in 60% of our earnings because we've priced them in a certain way that it's a high ticket offer and it makes sense, right? Now there's steps there. I didn't just immediately start offering a VIP day one as an artist, right? We started in 2013, played gigs all the way till 2021, and then we had built up enough of a reputation, enough of a local following that we were like, okay, let's go ahead and try to offer a VIP. So we had built up enough of a local following that it made sense to do that. If you don't have anybody that's coming to a show, then it may not make much sense to do a VIP unless you gear the VIP specifically towards benefits that they receive as opposed to access they get to you. If you look at a lot of artist VIPs, a lot of it is access that you get to the artist as opposed to the actual tangible value they get from it, right? You'll pay $200 plus to do a meet and greet. So what's the value in that? The value is you got to meet them in person, actually have your hand on their body and go, yeah, or whatever, right? That was the value in it. But if I say, I'm going to give you a merchandise bundle, you're going to get free parking, or not free parking, yeah, you get executive parking or VIP parking, you get a laminate, you get basically they're getting value, they're getting things that aren't always directly tied to their association to you as an artist. Sometimes that can work, but you have to structure your VIP from a total utilitarian perspective. There's basically no branding really involved in those kind of VIP offers. It's more of like you live in a city and you offer a VIP ticket so that you have parking up front so that you don't have to park 8 blocks away or park in a unit that costs $25. You buy the VIP ticket and that's included for you. It also comes with a merchandise bag. Again, they're getting stuff, they're getting value that they may, that's kind of associated to your brand, but it's also kind of not. You know what I mean? Because I get a mystery bag full of some goodies, and I get parking, and I'm going to go to the show I wanted to go see anyway. They may buy your VIP even though they're there to see another artist because they get more benefits. You see what I'm saying? You can structure it that way. I just would recommend work on building an audience. There's ways to do that via content, via ads, via actually just playing live shows. But the idea here is you got to build an audience. And hopefully you guys have seen the data here. Let's kind of recap a little bit. I think it'd be important because I've gone through a lot of numbers with a lot of different resources here. So you are 60% more likely to succeed as a musician when you adopt an entrepreneurial mindset. Okay, so how do we adopt a more entrepreneurial mindset? Well, we got to learn what the mindset patterns of entrepreneurs who have been successful are, but we also have to learn the things that they're doing. So what are some of the things that they're doing? They're implementing email lists. Okay, why? Because email list has a 36-to-1 ROI, according to Litmus, and then we have higher than average open rates for any other industry, and we can 3x our conversions by implementing this way of communicating with our fans. And then finally, we can potentially extend the lifetime value of our fans by 2x by offering a high ticket offer, a VIP offer of some kind that they have to pay $100, $200, $300 or more for. And as a result, 10% of the sales that we generate from just those alone could be responsible for up to 60% of the revenue we generate, period. So that's why it's so valuable to learn how to become an entrepreneur, to learn how to set up your email marketing and learn how to communicate with them so that you build rapport and you build that connection so you can increase conversions. And then learn how to make offers that actually sell. Okay? So hopefully this data has given you some confidence at the fact that it's actually feasible to be an independent musician, and the numbers are starting to stack up on our side, and in my opinion they're only going to continue to get better. So if you got some value from this video, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, all that good YouTube-y stuff. And if you want some one-on-one help developing that entrepreneur mindset, learning the skills necessary to actually implement your email list and your sales process, then there's a link in the description that you can click to apply to a free coaching call so that we can potentially show you the next steps in your music business and sort of what that roadmap would look like, okay? So if that's something that you need, click the button that's in the description. Otherwise, I will see you guys on another video inside of Musicians Ignite. Take care.